Today we are talking to Jessica David over here in your corner. Wave, Jessica. Hi. Um, she is a social media guru. She used to work for 76 Capital, but now I don't know where she's working now because she just got a new job. I had used her for Instagram, managing the Instagram and Facebook account for the studio tour, and then she got super busy. But I can call her a great friend and a neighbor that lives up the street, and we're very excited to have her. Oh, and she was like the voted top 30 for Forbes. Social media?
It was Forbes 30 under 30 for sports, and I am now at Intel, the semiconductor company in California, in their sports division. I can give a little background if you want.
Yeah, you know
if
more
that
about
makes
it than I do.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, so thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you coming in during your lunch break, what I assume is mostly people on the East Coast here. I am still on the East Coast. Should have been relocated to California in April, but we all know what happened to the world at that point. So lucky to be Jeff's neighbor for a little bit longer here until things pick up again. Like Jeff said, my background's in marketing and design. I attended James Madison University on a scholarship for the College of Business and was doing creative graphic design stuff on the side, and then decided to turn my passion into my full-time focus. So I left the College of Business at that time and went to the graphic design program, which was in the College of Studio Art. And unlike most of you folks, I imagine, I am not super great with my hands, good on the computer, but that was a real challenge, learning, painting, drawing, screen printing, and all of that stuff. So I still ended up getting a degree in fine arts for graphic design and photography, and worked at the Chester County Intermediate Unit here in Downingtown in their communications and public relations department for about 6 years. Doing graphic design, PR, social media for all their technical colleges, and the third-party programs that some of your kids may be participants in, which is great. From there, I went over to an agency that was focused on architecture and interior design. I joined their marketing department as their first graphic designer, and was really supportive of the marketing team's initiatives in general, which is always closely tied to business development and sales. So even though my background was in design and doing all the creative work for them, I got to learn a ton about marketing, contracts, proposals, RFPs. Still was working on communications, social media, email marketing. Kind of was the catch-all because I was the only person they had at an agency of 75 that was focused on design and marketing. I spent about 3 years there and met a client of mine called 76 Capital. While I was there, I helped them put together a marketing pitch for Microsoft to bring an innovation center into Philadelphia. We designed an app, and the actual building was designed by our architecture team, and I focused on the deck and the proposal and some of the additional creative elements that we were pitching. Microsoft bit, and they opened an innovation center in Philly. And I stayed in touch with the team at 76 Capital through the James Madison University alumni group. It turns out my client also was an alumni there. So we had a ton of organic connections. And when they had a new position for the director of marketing, they called me. Again, first marketing person they ever hired. I was the third person on the team. We all sat at one table together. It was very homey and intimate, which was great. And I learned a ton. I was there for about 4 years. 76 Capital is a venture capital firm focused on sports, technology, esports, which is professional video games, and sports betting. And through our initiatives to help invest in companies that are focused on sports, we also brought in athlete investors through our sports marketing agency. So I worked very closely with athletes like Ryan Howard and DeMarco Murray and Rob Sampson and Brian Westbrook to not only help transition their life on social media from sports to business, but also help them with their investment decisions through our firm 76 Capital. We created a new investment vehicle called the Athlete Venture Group, where athletes could invest directly into our portfolio and then have a diversified fund. And I would help, like I said, market them in this new light. So whether that was social, earned PR, or like organic interviews, events and speaking engagements. And that was the work that got me on the Forbes list for sports. Obviously, I'm not an athlete. I'm 5 feet tall. So it was a very unique, unique way that I got onto the sports list with like Patrick Mahomes and Christian Yelich and stuff, where I'm just like not anywhere near the level of athletic ability that they are. While at 76 Capital, I dug very deep into the sports technology business, and that's where I learned about the team at Intel. Became very close with a woman named Sandra Lopez, who's now my boss. And when she posted an opening for a marketing manager for the sports department, I reached out and just had an organic conversation. Hey, do you think this would work? And here we are. So that started in January. I was supposed to move in April. Things are on hold, but I started a new job from across the country remotely with a team of 400. It's definitely been a challenge, but my focus right now is to help our partners in sports market the technology that we have put together, which is a camera technology in the arenas that captures volumetric video. And my focus is helping the NBA, Turner, our teams, leagues, as well as European soccer, including League One in France, La Liga in Spain, and some of the English Premier League teams like Arsenal, Man City, and a couple others. So that was everything in a nutshell.
That was your last 30 years and you're only 30.
Yeah, exactly. Half of my life in a couple of minutes. Thanks for bearing with me.
Cool. All right. So she managed a bunch of social media platforms and accounts for a lot of these sports guys.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about social media platforms today, what they are, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're going to kind of go through it a little bit. Before, we would have had little screens that show you all these cool little things and where to, the sizes and stuff for Facebook. So we're going to kind of briefly go over that. And then tomorrow we're going to talk more about developing a strategy. How many, by a show of hands, have Facebook accounts? Raise your hands. Everybody almost. And Instagram? Twitter? Nobody's got LinkedIn. All right, yeah, you're on all of them, Jess. And what else? Did we miss anything?
TikTok.
Oh, what's that?
TikTok.
Anybody on TikTok yet? Really? Nice.
Do you mostly use it to watch other people, or are you creating content yourself? To watch. Got it.
Go ahead. All right. So why don't we just talk a little bit about Facebook and some of the pros and cons about Facebook? What do you got for us, Josh?
Sure. I am personally, I think, as Jeff knows, because I've harped on this quite a bit, not a huge fan of Facebook for small businesses. But for you as an individual, so it can be successful for you as an individual, or a large corporation with a huge media budget. The smaller pages, unless you've built a following that is being pushed from elsewhere, or like I said, from you as an influencer, it can be very difficult for small businesses to compete in this kind of pay-to-play environment. It shouldn't be ignored, for sure, but unless you already have a strong following or have a very succinct marketing strategy that will lead from other places to Facebook, it can be very difficult to just grow a following organically through that platform. So there's pros and cons, in my opinion. I have seen from, our content marketing, just at some of the firms that I've worked for, if you put out the same piece of content using the same media, same copy on all platforms, I personally would always get significantly lower engagement on Facebook. Something else to note is that it is a video first platform. So if your content is not in the form of a video, it's probably not going to be seen by many folks.
This is Facebook, right?
Yes. Well, it's Facebook, and Instagram's leaning that way now too, because it's owned by Facebook and they're slowly integrating a lot of other components. But so the two ways that I would recommend, if Facebook's a strong platform for you, is doing it personally through your site where your friends are. These are people that you're connected with, that you have a relationship already. If you can slowly lead them to like your page or engage with your page, that would be great too. But in the end, it's going to come down to Facebook's unfortunate algorithm of pay to play for your business accounts. You should still have a business account for Facebook so that you can link your Instagram to it and then utilize Instagram better as a business. And I can get into that too. If that
yeah. So what's the difference? So do you have a personal page as a Facebook and then have a business page as a Facebook, or?
So that's a good question, because for me personally, I just started a new kind of side passion project on Instagram. And I'm not really trying to get followers. It's really just a creative outlet for me because I feel like I'm very corporate right now and not doing anything like fun. Well, my job is fun, but personal fun. And it asked me to link it to a business account. And I didn't feel like going through the hassle because I didn't have really an end goal with it. But for some of the larger groups that I manage, like I still help manage the Philly Dukes alumni group, that's a business page, because a personal page that represents an organization isn't going to be successful, but that has a different purpose. It's not to sell or pitch anything. It's really just to bring a community of people together. So I personally don't have one.
As in, okay, so we're all artists here. Would you suggest for us having a personal page and then an artist page separately, or?
Yeah, so it is important to still have one, and I'm going to actually show you why. And I have a bunch of stuff up to screen share if that can be helpful too. But
if you know how to screen share, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm sure you've all seen on yours. Let's go to Bleacher Report. I guess that's the last person I was dealing with. I'm waiting for my content to be shared. Okay. Share. Oh, I can't do it because I'm just a participant and not a host. But either way. So if you go on Instagram and you see,
make her.
You have a paid account or a free? Oh, look at that! You did it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, can you all see that? Jeff, let me know if you can see it. Okay, cool. I want to still. Okay. So where you see here that on Bleacher Report that this says Broadcast and Media Production Company, this allows them to do the swipe up in Instagram stories, as well as linking products, which they don't have, but I can give you another one that does. Oh, I'm on the web app, so I guess they don't have the products here. So when you're on here and you see that somebody has this category beneath their name, which you've probably seen on a lot of artists' page and a lot of brands, this is only possible through linking to your Facebook business page, not your personal page. And because it allows you to do that swipe up in your stories, it helps sell directly to your audience without having to go to the link in your bio and manage something like Linktree. That can be super cumbersome if you're looking to just quickly sell and share your products. So let me, I don't know how to end sharing here because my monitor is not the same size. Okay. I have a TV monitor as my second screen and it's the wrong dimension. So like I'm usually missing the top and bottom part of my screen. Okay, you can tell how I feel about Facebook because it directly led me to the benefits of Instagram. So are there any questions about Facebook?
Yeah, we're the old people, but for Facebook, you can do events, which I think people find helpful?
Yes.
No?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
for shows. And what's your thought about that whole boost your post for like $5 and $10? Does that work?
Um, yeah, I mean, again, unless you're targeting specific groups that you know you've built up, that can be tricky. There are whole agencies dedicated just to making the most of boosting social media posts and, um, you know, amplifying your message through paid content. I would suggest doing more research around what the best practices are before going into the $5 boost, because to me, um, they're really only helpful if you know the audience that you're targeting. If you do go through and try to target an audience, um, it's never good to really like blanket it where you're like, oh, of course, yeah, I'll take somebody who's interested in theater and I'll take somebody who's interested in entertainment. You might as well be niche, because even though it's showing it to fewer people, those are the people that are more likely to engage with your content. So it's twofold. You need to really know who your audience is, and then be able to track whether or not it's working. And it can come down to a lot of trial and error where you're spending a few dollars to see what result, what gives you the best ROI, and then try something different, compare it. Facebook has the A/B testing embedded in it, which you can do, which means you set up 2 different campaigns. And if you set up a kind of a wall, so you set up an A/B campaign and say, if this one is clearly outperforming this other one by a week from now, go with this one. Facebook can do that for you. So that is where it can be helpful. But I always recommend doing a little bit more research on best practices around that.
I
I'm
think
not,
half
I'm
of us,
not really an expert on that part.
half of us
What was
probably
it?
have hard enough trouble posting every day and getting and just
Yeah,
getting content up. So what's some
yeah.
of the before we went through? I'm looking at one of the slides of the do's and don'ts for posting in social media. Like
Hmm.
some of the do's, clear and short.
Yep. Your imagery should not have text in it whatsoever. Facebook especially will automatically be like, nope, not being seen by anybody, which for you is easy. So keep it visual, keep it to your work. If you can do a video, that would be great.
How
Hi,
frequently
buddy.
should we post?
On all platforms or on Facebook specifically?
Let's go through Facebook. How often should we post on Facebook?
So that one to me, it really depends. I have found personally that 9, 12, and 3 Eastern time, 9, 12, and 3 are when you get the most engagement. We've been doing a campaign with Bleacher Report where we found that 11 a.m. Worked well for all the other platforms, because it's almost lunchtime on the East Coast and people are just getting up on the West Coast. They flip on social media and see what's going on, and then they continue on with their day.
All right. What
Yeah.
about what would be some of the things that we can post? I know we talked about being genuine, and some of
Mm-hmm.
our other classes before we went this way, we talked about doing a brand identity and
Yep.
as an artist, you know, what do you have to
So
say about that?
this is where I wanted to actually show you an example, because I think seeing is believing. Is that okay if I screen share?
No, yeah, go. Oh, do I have to put you back on as host?
Oh yeah. Ah, I
No,
think
you're
we
host.
should. Okay. So I'm a big proponent of showing progress as an artist, and really for you, it's coming down to what is your voice? Who are you as a person and as an artist? It's a really fun whiteboard exercise for you to write out some of the qualities that you want to be known for: being fun, being innovative, um, being daring, being bold, collaborations. Like, what are the emotions that you want to elicit from people? And then work backwards. Okay, what do I need to show to really get that genuine audience? You shouldn't be faking it. You shouldn't be putting on an act on social media, but be sensitive not to overshare to the point that people are turned off by how much is not about your work. So there's kind of a fine line to walk between being, strictly showing your art and also showing the progress and the backstory and who you are as a person. So this is one of the artists that I think does it the best. Like if there's an example, her name is CJ Hendry. I've been following her since the beginning. I can't see all of you right now, but how many of you have heard of her or are following her? I see one. You're just on top of everything, Jane.
Yeah,
It's awesome. I love it. So she's an illustrator, and I like her as an example because in the digital age of today, it can be very hard for illustrators, people that work with pen and pencil, truthfully, to make it big when everything else seems so manufactured. So CJ shares on her stories, videos constantly about her progress. I don't know what we're going to see here, so don't. This is literally just her sharpening a pencil and the orange color, which I've seen a few times. She'll show her workspace, some of the colors that she's starting a project with. She'll show progress shots and try to get you to guess what she's doing. But she's very cautious not to overshare about her personal life, which in a way leads me to want to know more because I'm like, is she married? She's an Australian. She's living here. How'd she get here? So she's very mindful about that. I love the way she's using highlights. Personally, I think if you're going to focus on one platform going forward as an artist, Instagram is the place to do that right now. So that's why I'm focusing on this example. Church is not.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Instagram, because I just got a warning that we got 10 minutes left on this.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Sorry, guys. If you have questions, put them in the chat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hit them up. No, it's okay. For Instagram specifically, when you're sharing things like this, you can also highlight. I'm sure you all know this. You can highlight and categorize. So she has certain projects dedicated highlights. So this is her Rorschach. These are some things she has shared. You guys should spend time on hers specifically and look through. Here's how you get more information. She has an assistant. So this is all about one series. These are drawings, not paintings, by the way.
And what are these? These are series on top of her main Instagram page?
These are highlights, yeah. So these are stories she shared, 61 weeks ago. And you can save them to create a deeper level of storytelling, which is really what it all comes down to. Your feed is like a gallery. Your stories are your form of storytelling behind the scenes. And then the highlights are your way of organizing that storytelling into niche little buckets. Does that make sense?
Now that makes sense about stories. Stories were always elusive to me.
Yeah. These are the less glamorous behind the scenes shots than the perfectly refined, gorgeous shots that you want somebody to see as if they're truly walking into a gallery of your work. So you can see here, these are mostly in progress or refined or very unique shots. Y'all are creative, so you can see that this is very curated, very intentional, the way everything lays out. I use a website called Planoly, Planoly, that helps you lay out posts ahead of time to see if you like the way they're organized. You can also add in the copy and schedule it. And if it's linked to your Facebook business account, it can post automatically, which can be good. I do it by hand just because I like to check in and then go through and like some stuff and interact with it. But the ability to use Planoly to schedule it ahead of time and see how the way things look is really great.
Can you use that for also Facebook? We'll do both. Instagram.
I think so.
We use Hootsuite for the studio tour.
Yes.
But we're heavier into Facebook than Instagram.
Mm-hmm. This one I picked specifically because it had the capability on Instagram to preview what your posts looked like and be able to just drag and drop if you wanted to schedule it ahead of time. So if you guys are starting from scratch, if you have an account, That's totally fine. I have seen plenty of people just delete everything and start over, or start a new account. You can use this tool to lay everything out ahead of time and figure out the cadence of your story, which is really important, but also see how it looks visually if you're doing anything with intention, which I always think you should. I don't want it to sound like it should be work. It should be fun. It should definitely be genuine to you, but having a little bit of thoughtfulness always helps.
We just got a question in. So the big thing about Instagram is hashtags. What are hashtags?
Yes.
Start with we're older than
yeah.
you.
What was that?
I said start with the basics. We're older than you. What's a hashtag? hash, and how do we use them?
Yeah. Hashtags are great on Instagram specifically now because people can follow hashtags. Before, they were kind of an arbitrary means of collecting the information all in one place. I'm not going to get into the backstory as to how hashtags started, even with computer science, because that's an interesting story if you want to look that up.
We have 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah, but hashtags specifically on Instagram now, people can actually follow certain topics. So for you, I always I'm not a genius. Like, my favorite thing to do is go to see what artists do you like, who you follow, who you enjoy, and see what they're doing. Check out some of the hashtags that they're using, click on them, see how many people are following them. You want to kind of give it a mix. I do like a low, medium, and high volume mix. So ones that don't have a ton of followers, which means it's a smaller audience, but you're more likely to be visible there. Medium, just to kind of cover all my bases, and then a large number of followers, because it's a bigger pool, and if something catches on, you'll get seen in a bigger group, but it's harder to get visibility there. So that's what I usually kind of split it up. And you can go through Instagram, search for hashtags, or go to your favorite artists, see what they post, click on each one, and it'll tell you up top how many posts there are in that amount.
Is there a hashtag generator that you can use that will give you like the top word search?
Yeah, there is, but I don't think it's worth it. Yeah.
Be more genuine with what you're posting.
Yeah, I would rather go through I go through on mine and just see like, okay, I'm into like lino cut lately. I don't know, I just love watching people do that. So I follow that hashtag, and then sometimes it'll suggest to me, hey, you're following this one, you probably would like this too. I like places I've traveled, I follow the hashtags for like those cities or those countries, and some of the top trending posts. So if you go to, for example, if you're an illustrator and you go to hashtag illustration, which is a huge one, click on the top post, see what else they're using. Don't use 20 or 50. I would keep it to like 5 to 10, and just go to that top trending one and see what else they're using.
Would you recommend using the same hashtags for every post, or?
So it depends. If your post is a hashtag illustration, but it's a video of your supplies, and it's not really an illustration, people can flag that as not being accurate to what you said it was, and then it'll never show up in that group again. So you just kind of want to be a little hesitant about just dumping them on there, and being a little more purposeful and truthful about it.
Yeah. Now, this is probably better for tomorrow because we got less than a minute.
Sure.
I don't know if they're going to give me more time, but tomorrow let's talk about probably strategy. And if you guys have questions, email them to me. Everybody probably wants to know how to get to 1 million followers and what we can do to get followers. If you believe in that whole idea of giving away something for free for followers, or I just think you need more of a market. That's a lot of noise and having a lot of followers without any pure intention.
Yep.
So let's focus on strategy tomorrow. A little bit, probably more about Instagram. No, we're not TikTok or Twitter.
No problem.
And any last minute questions? Maybe they'll give me a couple more. I don't know why we're only going till 30.
The free version has a 40-minute time limit for groups more than 2.
I guess because we got on a little earlier.
Yeah, sorry. All right, let me. Okay. Hi.
Howdy. Are you still a host?
Oh, I don't know. I pulled up another example that I would be happy to show.
Jeff, it said you're host when you logged in.
Oh, okay. I'm still recording the last meeting here. Right. There you are, Jess, your host.
Awesome. Thank you. Are the examples helpful or not at all? Because I can, okay. Because I don't want to waste your time either. Here, let me do. Okay, cool. Just while we wait and give, I know there were a couple other people, so I'll just kind of give them a minute to jump back on. Or Jeff, interrupt me if you want. This is an artist that I've been following and I've actually used as an example for some of the other freelance clients that I've worked with. Does not have any stories right now, but I think this is a really good example of recapping his top highlights from the year. He has a complete behind the scenes highlight. And the reason
Hi everybody, welcome to my studio. I'm just going to show you guys around a little bit, show you some of the projects that I'm working on.
This is a very good one to watch.
Over here you'll see a collection of smaller vessels that I've made within the last couple of weeks. Different shapes, different
Okay,
sizes.
can I pause this?
Really think
Okay, I wanted to pause it, but take note as to how like polished and just intentional. It's not perfect, but it's very intentional the way everything's laid out, the lighting, the clarity of his voice. He obviously planned what he was going to say ahead of time. It's not kind of a grungy studio is totally fine if that's the vibe you're going for, but this is the aesthetic that he's working with, and he works really hard to make sure it's consistent throughout.
And if you swing on over here, you'll see a collection of larger leader vessels that I'm working on. Ones that I'm particularly proud of.
So I'm
sometimes simple is best. And on the end here, you'll find a pretty bulbous piece here. That's also one of my.
Now, is this done live or is this?
It was done live 56 weeks ago, and then he pinned it. So when you guys share a highlight on your story, I'm gonna pull it up just so I can talk through it. In the bottom right, it has a little heart and it says highlight, and you'll either create a new section or add it to an existing section. And that's as easy as that. The reason I'm pulling him up as well is because he does mentorship sessions with different students. So he's got a different section for showcasing work that's done by his students. That way he's still helping promote them because he's got 1 million followers, but it's not changing the aesthetic of his feed or the cadence of his story. So he keeps them all in this one spot. And then this is like, I mean, I just like get mesmerized by watching his throwing sessions. So again, he, I think, is really successful in my opinion because he's mostly sharing videos on his feed as well as some very curated images. But the videos themselves are what perform really well. And you can see here he's limited to about 10 hashtags. I mean, I would just, you guys should take these. Creative, hashtag DIY. Isolation creation is one that's been trending because of the artist Jamie Beck. If you guys don't follow her, you should. She's an incredible photographer. And she created a new hashtag called isolation creation so that everybody can share what they're making in quarantine. And it's not anything that a bot would pick up, not to knock the robots who are generating hashtags, but that's something that you have to really be in tune with the artistic community on Instagram to see some of these things and participate in a genuine way. So that's always my recommendation. I recommend to anybody who has kids or has a house to keep or a full-time job, like if you're at home watching TV for half an hour or an hour at night before you go to bed, take it from the millennials and pull up a second screen because that's how you get more done, and just scroll through, interact with artists that you enjoy. I have on mine, I wonder if I can show you this is how I use it best. Not that I'm an example. I don't like let anybody follow me on Instagram. This is my private space. You can save things on Instagram, and you can actually save them into folders. I really wish this would show you. Hold on a second. So what I do is save inspiration or things that I want to learn more about, things that I want to go back to, things I want to interact with. If I say, hey, I want to comment on this artist page, I don't have time right now. So here's in my saved folder. Can you see that? I have funny things, of course, Danny DeVito being my favorite. Things for the home, fashion, travel, things for work, food, art, and design. I only have one folder for art, but you know, music, sports, gifts for people, all that stuff. So for you to have, you know, it's completely private, so nobody can see that you've set this up, but start hoarding information. That's my favorite thing to do, is to gather information and just hoard knowledge. My coworker the other day called me an encyclopedia because I just like love taking inspiration, like seeing what other people are doing and then organizing it. So I use a few different tools to organize articles on social media, best practices, trends, and statistics. I'm gonna screen share again because I did pull some of those up for you.
What's the protocol? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what's the protocol for following people? If somebody follows you, do you have to follow them back?
No, no, unless it's a friend of yours, or click on it and see if they're an influencer or somebody that you think it would make sense to collaborate with. So one of the other artists that I follow that I love, and I doubt you, I mean, I'd be surprised if anybody shared my love of this specific artist because it's a little wonky. I can't remember how to spell it. I've been following her for a while, since like very early on, because I just love this like style of creativity. And you can see all of the different categories that she's organized. It's dependent on you as a person. She grew a lot of her following based on collaborations. So she has a very specific style. These are all digital paintings, which I thought it's just incredible, like the level of detail. Anything that doesn't look like all of those other artworks are collaborations with other artists. So you see this one here, collaboration with whoever. I don't know how many followers he has. Yeah, pretty similar amount. But I love seeing when two artists who, you know, have seemingly different styles find a really interesting way to collaborate, and more importantly, create something that's enjoyable for their followers. So it's up to you to kind of know your audience when you're working on collaborations and making sure it still fits your aesthetic. Like if you were scrolling through quickly, you wouldn't necessarily know this is a collaboration, but that's how then you cross promote one another with different artists that have a different following.
We got a question in back when you're talking about categories. How do you create the categories on your saved posts in Instagram?
Yeah.
Let me see. So, well, you're all right. Sorry, it's not real PG right here, but when you click on that plus sign on the saved section,
you
can see name a new collection. And then when you save something, so let's say I wanted to save this funny video of my favorite show, The Office. Instead of just clicking on the save button there, hold it down, and then you can select which thing you save it in. I have hundreds of posts saved, and it's really helpful, like from my perspective, when I see like Bleacher Report or ESPN or somebody doing something really cool in sports, camera views or graphic overlays, I'll save it to different folders. And then when I'm working with the agency at my full-time job, I'll be like, oh, I have these links saved. This is what I want it to look like, you know, make it similar. So I'll do that all the time.
How important do you think it is for your whole grid on your
this here
page to look good?
Yeah.
It's very important for it to look good, but there is definitely no one way of doing it. So this is where I say, like, my analogy is to treat this like the gallery. If you were showing your work And it can be behind the scenes stuff too. This is what the gallery you'd want. If this is a curator or a book, like somebody who's booking you or buying your artwork, that's what this should look like. This artist specifically has chosen, as you can see, to strictly show the artwork. There is no, you wouldn't know what she looks like. I know what she looks like because she only shares it in her stories behind the scenes. Whereas going back to CJ, because she's a larger than life personality and she does some of these other really creative projects where she throws her artwork off into the side of the road for free and tells people like, it's so fun. Like her fans will go, this is the copyright series where she just throws artwork on the side of the road and people go and find it. And people are following her all around New York City to catch these free gifts. She shares a little bit more behind the scenes. I would say like less professional angles, you know, this being held up in a bathroom, I imagine. But it's a consistent style, consistent lighting, consistent color tone. That I think is the most important.
So what happens if you have an eclectic style?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get followers?
You talking about you?
Through no, I got a chat from somebody. Is it more difficult to get a following if your art is very eclectic versus more specific style?
Not at all. Well, so that's two different. Do you mean eclectic as in differentiated or eclectic as in just kind of off the wall?
Probably more different mediums.
Right. Can you elaborate a little, whoever that was? I'd love to learn more about it to help.
So you should share like your everyday stuff on stories and making it,
Mm-hmm.
and then a more polished picture on your grid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I wanted to help the person who maybe has a few different creative styles versus one like uniform. Is that what
Susan,
you meant?
yeah.
It's okay.
You want to clarify, Susan? Where are you?
Yeah, so I'm not like a formally trained artist. I've still made a little money off it in the background, but it's been a lot of different things from illustration, character design, some graphic art stuff for cosmetic covers and some oil paintings.
Yeah.
But as far as business, I've never really formally done that because I was actually doing science research.
Nice. Love the left brain, right brain. So I would say it sounds like a couple of the things that you're working on were from either corporate partnerships or brands. Is that?
Yeah, just stuff I happened into by accident where they're like,
Yeah.
hey, you can draw. Can you do this for me?
Yeah.
I'll pay you.
So I have a website. I use Behance to showcase like all of the kind of final projects that I've done that are not like they're not whimsical or creative. I would say like it's their corporate work, their branding, their annual reports, but they're not all one style. They're kind of all over the place, and more on the professional side. So that stuff I put on Behance. I don't know if that's helpful.
Okay. And then you could have an Instagram for your more whimsical stuff.
Yeah, and the Instagram stuff is less about what you've done and more about where you want to go in the future. So if you want to be selling more of your paintings or whatever the one style of illustration that you love and want to do 100 more of, keep doing that and showcase just that. Oh, I haven't been on here for a while. This is clearly my maiden name and my old job, but whoops.
You're saying, go. When she was talking, that's more about like the strategy. You want to use each platform for a different strategy.
Yes. Yeah, it depends what your goal is for each one. If your goal on Instagram is to get more corporate work, or I'm trying to think of the word, like work for hire from brands and other corporations, Instagram's kind of not really the right place to do that. But if you're looking to sell to like the everyday art collector or consumer, that would be the best place where it helps to have one thematic style. So this site I use for that more corporate stuff, because they're all different styles. I mean, completely different projects. So, you know, I have like reports, websites, book cover designs, business cards, posters, like this kind of stuff. I wouldn't put on Instagram photography. I wouldn't put on Instagram because nobody there is going to hire me to do a 50-foot vinyl mural in their home. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah. So this is where I keep this stuff.
And then when we talked about this, you said this is something for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be, I have this website, and maybe I took it off because I realized I wasn't keeping up with it, but I used to have this website directly on my LinkedIn. So if somebody wanted to see a portfolio of my work from LinkedIn, I could go right there. LinkedIn actually now has the ability to embed certain projects of yours within your job posting, or not your job posting, your job experience. And I'm going to show you an artist on LinkedIn that I follow that I think does really well because he's doing the corporate stuff. And you probably all know him because he's local. Cool. Do y'all know him? Henry?
Mm-mm.
Oh, maybe he's not local.
He's not local.
I don't know how I met him while I was working at the interior design agency, but he probably just was coming in to sell to the designers. But his focus, his audience is primarily interior designers and architects, which is a weird space to be in because where do they spend most of their time? Working as an architect or an interior designer, that's not something you're necessarily looking for as a personal hobby. So you're probably less likely to find them on social media than you are on a professional network like LinkedIn. So he uses this to post all of his photography, again, because his audience is specifically at the professional level.
So it really comes down to what your message is and who you're trying to.
Who your audience is, yeah.
You think
if you're looking to reach a high-end art collector because your price point isn't below a couple thousand, Instagram's probably not the best place to do that. Do you want to?
What's some of the cons against Instagram? None. Instagram's so good.
That's a good question. I don't have any off the top of my head.
All right. How about the idea about going live in Instagram? I was kind of screwing with it and then found out people are watching me and I just bailed. I didn't know what to do.
Next time, tell me and I'll jump on and we'll just start talking about stuff.
Well, yeah, that's what I got my daughter for. She's like, Dad, you just can't bail. And then people are waving to me. And then one of the rules was, you can't really call somebody out because they might leave. So give us some etiquette on Instagram Live.
What do you mean call somebody out? Like add them to your video?
No, like somebody comes in and starts watching you and you're like, oh, hey, Jess, how are you? And then now you'd be forced to stay because I would know when you left.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I have a couple thoughts on that because I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram Live because everybody's going live right now and it's totally dragging down my bandwidth, like my cell phone signal as I'm like trying to do some other stuff while watching. And for 76 Capital specifically, as I was transitioning out right when this pandemic started, we had a lot of success with it because we would bring in athletes who had a much larger following to lead to our live, because 76 didn't have a huge following on Instagram, a couple thousand, but to really hit that critical mass, it's not only is it important for you to give back to other artists that you're then asking for something. Like I believe working together is the only way we can all help each other grow our following. So bringing somebody onto your feed to help boost your audience, you should be offering to do the same for others and putting yourself out there as much as you can. I do live interviews like this all the time with the primary goal of boosting my LinkedIn. For me, my social media platform that I'm focused on getting followers for is LinkedIn because I'm in that corporate world. But doing stuff on LinkedIn Live for our athletes has been incredibly successful, especially when you're interviewing somebody who is maybe like of a different ilk than you. So we'd have, my colleague at 76 was interviewing Alejandro Bedoya, the captain of the Philadelphia Union, which you'd think like, why is a venture capitalist talking to an athlete? But they had this common goal of learning more about business. People didn't know he had just finished a Harvard business program. So it's really about like having a genuine conversation, bringing two audiences together to find a common goal, like a common love between these two things. I don't know. I think that because there's so much going on with live right now, you really have to have like a unique and interesting viewpoint.
I was gonna say, yeah, what would you suggest for artists to go out there and put live? Like,
yeah, I mean, you could go live while you're in your studio. My brother does that all the time. He's a tattoo artist. He doesn't go live while he's tattooing, but he also does wood burning. And he'll go live with the camera on a stand so that it's not wobbling around to show people live wood burning. Every time I have alerts set for him, obviously, it's my brother. So when it comes on, I turn it on, I just let it sit up here and have this cool thing going in the corner while I'm typing away. I can watch my brother work. So that's pretty cool. He's not focused on building a following, so I'm usually the only one watching. I've offered to help, I can't even tell you how many times, Jeff, and been turned down. Must be that brother-sister thing, but it's always fun to tune people in while you're in your studio doing your thing.
That's such a bizarre concept to me. I was like, who wants to sit there and watch the back of my head as I paint? But I was having people watch me silkscreen.
Yep.
It's such a boring.
Oh, I was watching
process.
that.
But
yeah, I was watching.
Yeah.
You silkscreen. It was meditative to watch you do that.
I thought people
and also nerve-wracking because you cut it pretty close to the other one. I'm like, oh, he's gonna slip. It's going over.
I didn't know it was that entertaining. I'm gonna have to go live again.
Yeah, it was cool.
What for? I don't want to keep you all day here. Well, 1 o'clock we'll end this. Give us a quick tip on how to gather more followers, authentic followers, let's say.
Yeah. So I have the people that I have followed in the last month, let's say, have been either referrals that my friends sent me and said like, oh, this is really cool, check this out. So word of mouth, which can be tough, or collaborations with other artists. So I would incrementally start posting your content in a very thoughtful and curated way. You're artist, so I know that whatever you come up with will be a gorgeous looking feed. Use the right not the right hashtags, but use the right mix of hashtags. And then more importantly, engage with other accounts that are using those hashtags. So if you go on to the hashtag illustration, just because I have CJ still up, see who's the top post on there and comment. Great work. Would love to know how you do that. Wow, what an amazing color. Like, the more you engage with the community, not only will you be visible to other members of that community who obviously their followers would enjoy your work, followers of those illustration pages would be interested in you, but it creates that genuine connection, and people will know you're not a robot or you're not just throwing stuff on there and then leaving. The worst thing is, just having scheduled posts and then never interacting. The Instagram algorithm will know you're doing that, and then you won't get pushed to the top.
Okay, what about that interactive? How often should you comment on other people's posts? Is that a way of gathering followers, or you just do that quick heart on fire and then leave? Like
the heart and fire and leave. Go through which I'm only using Bleacher Report as an example because I'm doing a project with them now, and go through one of their posts and scroll through. You will see 1 million hearts, 1 million fires, a million follow my page for follow, whatever. They're all robots. So make it clear that you're not a robot.
Leave something authentic.
Say something. Yeah, even when I was managing the other 12 accounts that I used to manage, I would always get a post that said, "Nice work!" exclamation point from this one account as soon as I hit post. And I knew that that was a robot because they said the same thing every time as soon as I posted it. So even something like "nice work," which, you know, there's no way of avoiding every single phrase a robot would use, but
And what's
try to make it a little personal.
And what's the protocol etiquette for somebody posting or like leaving a comment? Do you like it, or do you say thank you, or do you?
Oh yeah, I would, yeah, at least like everyone. If you have time.
Take the time.
Yeah. The other thing that I would recommend doing is, depending on what type of work you create, there are aggregate accounts out there. So there's like Illustrated Monthly, obviously because my brother's a tattoo artist, so I follow, like, there's a Black Tattoo Work. They post a different artist a couple times a day. So look, I'll illustrators. Here you go. Illustration Daily. 220, can you see that? 224,000 followers, Illustration Daily. There's a million accounts like this. What I've seen a lot of people do is they either have in their bio, use this hashtag to be featured, or what I've seen a lot of people do is tag that account in your post. So if you're looking to get on, here you go. This is for all you ladies. Women of Illustration, 520,000 followers, and it says use this tag, Women of Illustration, use this hashtag to be featured. So if you use that in every post, there's somebody on this account that monitors that and probably goes through once a day and saves ones that they want to reshare. That's how you get your work featured on some of those bigger accounts. And that's where I normally find new followers, are like those bigger aggregate accounts that show me other people's cool work. And that's how I discover it.
What was that tattoo one again? Because my friend's boyfriend's a tattoo artist.
Oh, there's a bunch. Oh, shoot. Mural Arts just started a live video and I accidentally clicked on it. So it's hard to find the ones I'm looking for, because if I type tattoo, it doesn't come up with the ones that don't start with the word tattoo. But
I can Google it later. Now that I know they exist, I can find
it. I'm trying to, and then I never save the post from them, because I go right to the artist and then save the post that other account posted from the artist directly. So I know if that handle ever changes, I can still find them. I'm a little OCD, if you can't tell.
Since we talked about how many times you should post on Facebook, how many times should you post on Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, once or twice a day, I would say, but people, so that's all different question. Instagram stories, a couple times a day is nice if it's genuine and worth sharing. But in your feed, you don't even necessarily have to do it every day. I'm trying to see what this one has right here. She does it once a day or once every other day. Because again, the feed is really more that curated stuff. You don't want to let too much time pass between posting, but yeah, I would say like once a day or every other day, and then keep your stories up. That's where a lot of people spend their time now. It's where I spend most of my time.
Looking at stories.
On Instagram, yeah. Here, I found it for you, Susan. This is the one that I like. Because all of mine are black. I don't have color, so I like following the ones that are all black. Okay.
All right, one last question.
Yep.
It says, yes, I'm old. What does tagging actually do?
Tagging the accounts will alert that account that you've tagged them. So like,
they have
they'll get a notification. What was that?
They have professionals that go out and search for their product and their tags. It helps them identify.
No, so like if you tag let's say Illustration Daily. So if you tag Illustration Daily and a bunch of others, like they'll get an alert that they've been tagged in a photo. And if people go to this page and go to this one here, that's like, what are some photos that this account's been tagged in? You'll show up in this feed.
And now tagging is the @ sign, right?
So tagging, not in the body, but actually in the image. So here's my, if y'all want to see, I love philosophy. So this is the account that I started a couple days ago. And I did tag one. Here we go. So I was just testing it out. I actually tagged the photo with a couple of different philosophy accounts just to see. I'm really just kind of like playing around here. I don't have any real end goal. I get bored easily, but if you tag them, so now they got an alert that they were tagged in a photo. And if you go here, well, a lot has been tagged, but if you go to their page and then photos they've been tagged in, mine would show up here, but that was probably a week ago. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We took up way too much of your time now. That's an
No,
hour.
it's all good. I talk a lot, so.
No, and we're back.
Okay.
We're back tomorrow. So,
Yep.
Same channel, same bat place. Oh, there's a new link. There should be a new link that was sent to you by the Art Association. And if you have some questions that you want me to ask Jess, email me the questions, and I'll have them prepared for Jess.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for coming and then hopping off and hopping back on.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right.
very
Thanks,
much.
guys. Thanks,
No
Jess.
problem.
All right.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.
Bye-bye.